Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
All right. How you doing, Aaron?
Blissful.
That's great. So, if you haven't yet, please pull up the Gospel of Truth. Are you there?
I'm there.
All right. So, do you remember where we stopped?
I think so. Hold on. I kind of think so.
It starts with certainly if these things. So
Wait a minute.
if you put find in page,
It's okay. I'm there.
okay. All right. So this is a long section. You want to start?
Sure. Certainly, if these things have happened to each one of us, it is fitting for us, surely, to think about the all, so that the house may be holy and silent for unity. Like people who have moved from a neighborhood, if they have some dishes around which are not good, they usually break them. Nevertheless, the householder does not suffer a loss, but rejoices, for in the place of these defective dishes there are those which are completely perfect. For this is the judgment which has come from above, and which has judged every person, a drawn, two edged sword cutting on this side and that. When it appeared, I mean the Logos, who is in the heart of those who pronounce it, it was not merely a sound, but it has become a body. A great disturbance occurred among the dishes, for some were emptied, others filled, some were provided for, others were removed, some were purified, still others were broken. All the spaces were shaken and disturbed, for they had no composure nor stability. Error was disturbed, not knowing what it should do. It was troubled, it lamented, it was beside itself because it did not know anything. When knowledge, which is its abolishment, approached it with all its emanations, error is empty, since there's nothing in it. Truth appeared, all its emanations recognized it. They actually greeted the Father with a power which is complete and which joins them with the Father. For each one loves truth because truth is the mouth of the Father. His tongue is the Holy Spirit, who joins him to truth, attaching him to the mouth of the Father by his tongue at the time he shall receive the Holy Spirit.
This manifestation of the Father and his revelations to his aeons, he revealed his hidden self and explained it. For who is it that exists if it's not the Father himself? All the spaces are his emanations. They knew that they stemmed from him as children from a perfect man. They knew that they had not yet received form, nor had they yet received the name, every one of which the Father produces. If they at the time received form of his knowledge, though they are truly in him, they do not know him. But the Father is perfect. He knows every space which is within him. If he pleases, he reveals anyone whom he desires by giving a form and by giving a name. And he does not give a name and cause him to come into being. Sorry, and he does give his name and cause him to come into being. Those who do not yet exist are ignorant of him who created them. I do not say then that those who do not exist yet are nothing, but they are in him who will desire that they exist when he pleases, like the event which is going to happen. On the one hand, he knows before anything is revealed what he will produce. On the other hand, the fruit which has not yet been revealed does not know anything, nor is it anything either. Thus, each space which, on his part, is in the Father comes from the existing one, who, on his part, has established it from non existence. There's a blank space. He who does not exist at all will never exist. Go ahead.
What then is that which he wants him to think? I am like the shadows and phantoms of the night. When morning comes, this one knows that the fear which he had experienced was nothing. Thus they were ignorant of the Father. He is the one whom they did not see. Since there had been fear and confusion and a lack of confidence and double-mindedness and division, there were many illusions which were conceived by him, the foregoing, as well as empty ignorance, as if they were fast asleep and found themselves a prey to troubled dreams. Either there is a place to which they flee, or they lack strength as they come, having pursued unspecified things. Either they are involved in inflicting blows, or they themselves receive bruises. Either they're falling from high places, or they fly off through the air, though they have no wings at all. Other times, it's as if certain people were trying to kill them, even though there's no one pursuing them, or they themselves are killing those besides them, for they are stained by their blood. Until the moment when they who are passing through all these things, I mean they who've experienced all these confusions, awake, they see nothing because the dreams were nothing. It is thus that they who cast ignorance from them asleep, do not consider it to be anything, nor regard its properties to be something real, but they renounce them like a dream in the night, and they consider the knowledge of the Father to be the dawn. It is thus that each one has acted as if he were asleep during the time when he was ignorant, and thus he comes to understand as if he were awakening. And happy is the man who comes to himself and awakens. Indeed, blessed is he who has opened the eyes of the blind.
And the Spirit came to him in haste when it raised him, having given his hand to the one lying prone on the ground. It placed him firmly on his feet, for he had not yet stood up. He gave them the means of knowledge, the Father, sorry, he gave them the means of knowing the knowledge of the Father and the revelation of the Son. For when they saw it and listened to it, he permitted them to take a taste and to smell and to grasp the beloved Son.
He appeared, informing them of the Father, the illimitable one. He inspired them with that which is in the mind while doing his will. Many reserved the light and turned towards him. But material men were alien to him and did not discern his appearance nor recognize him. For he came in the likeness of flesh, and nothing blocked his way because it was incorruptible and unrestrainable. Moreover, while saying new things, speaking about what's in the heart of the Father, he proclaimed the faultless word. Light spoke through his mouth, and his voice brought forth life. He gave them thought and understanding, and mercy and salvation, and the spirit of strength derived from the limitlessness of the Father and sweetness. He caused punishments and scourgings to cease, for it was they which caused many in need of mercy to astray from him in error and in chains, and he mightily destroyed them and derided them with knowledge. He became a path for those who went astray, and knowledge to those who were ignorant, a discovery for those who sought, and a support for those who tremble, a purity for those who were defiled.
He is the shepherd who left behind the 99 sheep which had not strayed, and yet went in search for the one which was lost. He rejoiced when he had found it, for 99 is the number of the left hand which holds it. The moment he finds the one, however, the whole is transferred to the right hand. Thus it is with him who lacks the one, that is, the entire right hand, which attracts that in which is deficient, seizes it from the left side and transfers it to the right. In this way, then, the number becomes 100. This number signifies the Father.
He laboured even on the Sabbath for the sheep which he found fallen into the pit. He saved the life of that sheep, bringing it up from the pit, in order that you may understand fully what that Sabbath is, you who possess full understanding. It is a day in which it is not fitting that salvation be idle, so that you may speak of that heavenly day which has no night, and of the sun which does not set because it's perfect. Say then in your heart that you are this perfect day, and that in you the light which does not fail dwells.
Speak concerning the truth to those who seek it, and of knowledge to those who in their error have committed sin. Make make sure-footed those who stumble, and stretch forth your hands to the sick. Nourish the hungry, and set at ease those who are troubled. Foster men who love, raise up and awaken those who sleep. For you are this understanding which encourages. If the strong follow this course, they are even stronger. Turn your attention to yourselves. Do not be concerned with other things, namely that which you have cast forth from yourself, that which you have dismissed. Do not return to them to eat them. Do not be moth eaten. Do not be worm eaten, for you have already shaken it off. Do not be a place of the devil, for you have already destroyed him. Do not strengthen your last obstacles, because that is reprehensible. For the lawless one is nothing, he harms himself more than the law. For that one does the works because he is a lawless person. But this one, because he is righteous person, does his work among others. Do the will of the Father, then you are from him.
For the Father is sweet and his will is good. He knows the things that are yours, so that you may rest yourselves in them. For by the fruits one knows the things that are yours, that they are the children of the Father, and one knows his aroma, that you originate from the grace of his countenance. For this reason the Father loved his aroma, and it manifests itself in every place. And when it's mixed with matter, he gives his aroma to the light, and into his rest he causes it to ascend in every form and in every sound. For there are no nostrils which smell the aroma, but it is the spirit which possesses the sense of smell, and it draws for itself to itself, and sinks into the aroma of the Father. He is indeed the place for it, and he takes it to the place from which it has come, in the first aroma which is cold. It is something in a psychic form, resembling cold water, which is, since it is in soil which is not hard, of which those who see it think it is earth. Afterwards it becomes soft again. If a breath is taken, it's usually hot. The cold aromas, then, are from the division. For this reason, God came and destroyed the division, and he brought the hot pleroma of love, so that the cold may not return, but the unity of the perfect thought prevail.
This is the word of the gospel of finding of the pleroma for those who wait for the salvation which comes from above. When their hope for which they are waiting is waiting, they whose likeness is the light in which there is no shadow, then at that time the pleroma is about to come. The deficiency of matter, however, is not because of the limitless, limitless, wow, limitlessness of the Father who comes at the time of the deficiency. And yet, no one is able to say that the incorruptible one will come in this manner. But the death of the Father is increasing, and the thought of error is not with him. It is a matter of falling down, and a matter of being readily set upright at the finding of the one who comes, who has come to him, who will turn back.
For this turning back is called repentance. For this reason, incorruption has breathed. It followed him who has sinned in order that he may find rest. For forgiveness is that which remains for the light in the deficiency, the word of the pleroma. For the physician hurries to the place in which there is sickness, because that is the desire which he has. The sick man is in a deficient condition, but he does not hide himself, because the physician possesses that which he lacks. In this matter, the deficiency is filled by the pleroma, which has no deficiency, which has given itself out in order to fill the one who is deficient, so that grace may take him then from the area which is deficient and has no grace. Because of this, a diminishing occurred in the place which there is no grace. the area where the one who is small, who is deficient, is taken hold of.
He revealed himself as a pleroma, finding the finding of the light of truth which has shined towards him, because he is unchangeable. For this reason, they who have been troubled speak about Christ in their midst, so they may receive a return, and he may anoint them with the ointment. The ointment is the pity of the Father, who who will have mercy on them. But those whom he has anointed are those who are perfect. For the filled vessels are those which are customarily used for anointing. But when an anointing is finished, the vessel is usually empty, and the cause of its deficiency is the consumption of the ointment. For then a breath is drawn only through the power of which he has. With the one who is without deficiency, one does not trust anyone beside him or does pour out anything. But that which is deficient is filled again by the perfect Father. He is good. He knows his plantings because he is the one who has planted them in this paradise, and his paradise is a place of rest.
This is the perfection in the thought of the Father, and these are the words of his reflection. Each one of his words is the work of his will alone in the revelation of his Logos. Since they were in the depth of his mind, the Logos, who was the first to come forth, caused them to appear, along with an intellect which speaks the unique word by means of a silent grace. It was called thought, since they were in it before becoming manifest. It happened then that it was the first to come forth, at the moment pleasing to the will of him who desired it, and it is in the will that the Father is at rest, and with which he is pleased. Nothing happens without him, nor does anything occur without the will of the Father. But his will is incomprehensible. His will is his mark, but no one can know it, nor is it possible for them to concentrate on it in order to possess it. But that which he wishes to take place, that which he wishes, takes place at the moment he wishes it, even if the view does not please anyone. It is God's will. For the Father knows the beginning of them all as well as their end. For when their end arrives, he will question them to their faces. The end, you see, is the recognition of him who is hidden, that is, the Father, from whom the beginning came forth, and to whom will return all who have come from him. For they were made manifest for the glory and the joy of his name.
And the same name of the Father is the Son. It is he who in the beginning gave a name to him who came forth from him. He is the same one, and he begat him for a son. He gave him his name which belonged to him. He, the Father, who possesses everything which exists around him, he possesses the name. He has the Son. It is possible for them to see him. The name, however, is invisible. For it alone is the mystery of the invisible, about to come to the ears completely filled with it through the Father's agency. Moreover, as for the Father, his name is not pronounced, but is revealed through a Son. Thus, then, the name is great.
Who then has been able to pronounce a name for him, this great name, except him alone to whom the name belongs, and the sons of the name in whom the name of the Father is at rest, and who themselves in turn are at rest in his name, since the Father has no beginning? It is he alone who engendered it for himself as a name in the beginning, before he had created the eons, that the name of the Father should be over their heads as a Lord, that is, the real name, which is secure by his authority and by his perfect power. For the name is not drawn from lexicons, nor is his name derived from common name giving, but it is invisible. He gave a name to himself alone, because he alone saw it, and because he alone was capable of giving himself a name. For he who does not exist has no name. For what name would one give him who does not exist? Nevertheless, he who exists also with his name, and he alone knows it, and to him alone the Father gave a name. The Son is his name. He did not therefore keep it secretly hidden, but the Son came into existence. He himself gave a name to him. The name then is that of the Father, just as the name of the Father is the Son. For otherwise, where would compassion find a name outside of the Father? But someone will probably say to his companion, Who would give a name to someone who existed before himself, as if, indeed, children did not receive their name from one of those who gave them birth?
Above all, then, it is fitting for us to think this point over. What is the name? It is the real name. It is indeed the name who came from the Father, for it is he who owns the name. He did not, you see, get the name on loan. That is the cause for others because of the form in which each one is given, is going to be created. Then this is the authoritative name. There is no one else to whom he has given it, but it remained unnamed, unuttered, till the moment when he, who is perfect, pronounced it himself. And it was he alone who was able to pronounce his name to see it. When it pleased them, then his son should be his pronounced name. And when he gave this name to him, he who has come from the death spoke of the secrets, because he knew that the Father was absolute goodness. For this reason, indeed, he sent this particular one in order that he might speak concerning the place and the place of rest from which he had come forth, and that he might glorify the Pleroma, the greatness of his name, and the sweetness of his Father.
Each one will speak concerning the place from which he's come forth, and to the region from which he received his essential being. He will hasten to return once again, and he want from that place, the place where he was, because he tasted of that place, as he was nourished and grew, and his own place of rest is his pleroma. All the emanations from the Father, therefore, are pleromas, and all his emanations have their roots in the one who caused them all to grow from himself. He appointed a limit. They then became manifest individually in order that they might be in their own thought, for that place to which they extend their thoughts is their root, which lifts them upward through all heights to the Father. They reach his head, which is rest for them, and they remain there near to it, so that they say that they have participated in his face by means of embraces. But these of this kind were not manifest, because they've not risen above themselves. Neither have they been deprived of the glory of the Father, nor have they thought of him as small, nor bitter, nor angry, but as absolutely good, unperturbed, sweet, knowing all the spaces before they came into existence, and having no need of instruction. Such are they who possess from above something of this immeasurable greatness, as they strain towards that unique and perfect one who exists there for them. And they do not go down to Hades. They have neither envy nor moaning, nor is death in them, but they rest in him who rests, without wearying themselves or becoming involved in the search for truth. But they indeed are the truth, and the Father is in them, and they are in the Father, since they are perfect, inseparable from him who is truly good. They lack nothing in any way, but they are given rest and are refreshed by the Spirit, and they listen to their root. They have leisure for themselves, they in whom he will find his root, and he will suffer no loss to his soul.
Such is the place of the blessed. This is their place. As for the rest, then, may, may they know in their place that it does not suit me, after having been in the place of rest to say anything more. But he is the one in whom I shall be in order to devote myself at all times, to the Father of the all and the true brothers, those upon whom the love of the Father is lavished, and those in the midst nothing of him is lacking. It is they who manifest themselves truly, since they are in the true and eternal life, and speak of the perfect light filled with the seed of the Father, and which is in his heart and in the pleroma, while his spirit rejoices in it and glorifies him in whom it was because of the Father is good, and his children are perfect and worthy of his name, because he is the Father. Children of this kind are those whom he loves.
Is that
All
it
right.
on your page? Yeah.
Yep, that's it. So, like I said, this gospel is very complex, and you need to know a lot of meaning to the terms to to understand. I will start breaking it down probably tomorrow. This will be a long series on this gospel. Now, I want to give a disclaimer. Like I said earlier and many times already, I don't believe any single book or story or anything holds the complete truth. In order to understand the complete truth, you have to connect the dots and go where the spirit leads you. So anything I present to you, I want you to be sure that I'm not saying any one of these things is the perfect knowledge. Perfect knowledge comes from within and it leads you to putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, I do agree with this gospel. I want to say about 85%. And that's way higher than any other story in the Bible. And just like Erin asked me earlier, she, well, not earlier, I think yesterday, she asked me, what's the difference between, this gospel and what's written in the Bible? Well, I told her an example, and I'm going to give it again. The example is picture you have a window, and picture the information in this gospel as a window with light, thin shades, like shades that are white and basically transparent. So most of the light comes through. There's only a little bit of restriction of the light coming through. The Bible was like a darker shade, and then there's other things that are darker shades, and then things around you are darker shades, and then there's things that are really dark, and you barely can see the light, but the light is still around the edges. So what does that mean? What I'm trying to say is truth and love is everywhere, but not everything holds the same amount of it. But you could still get it and you could still realize it in everything in your life. That's why first you find it inside, which is the closest to you. And then if you want to see the same light that's in you in the world around you, then you have to look for it, but understand that it's going to be different shades. The light outside is mixed with darkness, while the light inside of you is pure light. But you must realize it first. So just to be clear, we're gonna read a whole bunch of different things, and they all have truth in it, but there's always a little bit of darkness mixed in. Now, has anybody read this gospel before? And anybody in the chat?
Well, I probably rushed it. I probably had a look through it because I was kind of investigating some of that Gnostic literature maybe a few years ago, but I didn't really give it any deep thought. So reading it now is probably the best I've done so far.
Okay. Let's see if anybody's gonna answer the question. If anybody has read this before, press one. All right, so nobody's answering.
Avidan, Keith's asking, what gospel is it that you're reading?
Oh, it hasn't showed up on my screen. All I have from him is Q Temple. What's that referring to? Like QAnon? That's all I see.
No, it's just come up and he's just asked now, what gospel is it that you're reading?
It's called the Gospel of Truth. Literally, just type it out like that, and should be readily available. So, there's a lot of things that I want to explain about it, but I want you guys to read it on your own. Read it as many times as you need. I would suggest if you write down any questions, so then you can ask me before I start breaking it down. Now, even if I break it down, it might not make too much sense because in order to understand this gospel, you first need to understand the gospels in the Bible. And we're going to go through that. By the way, you're welcome, Keith. All right, so now we're gonna go to the Bible, and all you gotta do is go to Google, put prodigal son, and then put yeah, just put prodigal son, and the NIV is gonna be easier. So prodigal son NIV, and then click on it, and then we'll read the story.
Have we finished with the gospel of truth now? Can I click that screen off?
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, Keith, I will answer your question when we get to the Q temple, the last segment.
QAnon is a psyop, apparently.
I believe so, but it's much deeper than people are realizing. It's not just. Let me just give an overview before I get to that segment. QAnon is not just a group of people that believe in Trump and they're gonna save children. I'm not gonna say the P word. Um, they're gonna save children from the P word. They're gonna take away the corruption. That's the, let's say, the beginning layer of the onion. QAnon is actually also um almost like a spiritual belief, and we'll get into it. I'm gonna touch a little bit on when I get to Q Temple.
I'm glad you're going to get to it because it's like a big, I'm sorry to say, because of duality, it's a big annoyance to me because I first heard of it through someone called Charlie Ward. I don't know if either of you guys have heard of him, but I just felt there was something the matter there straight away.
Yeah. I never really got into it. Didn't take the time to read the Q posts and none of that.
Oh, I haven't
Um,
read any either. Just Charlie Ward telling us that everything was going to be fine and all these things were going to happen. You know, the children being freed and Trump was going to be the best thing and so on.
yeah, it's gonna lead to what I said, the Q Temple, and it's gonna lead to the Book of Revelations, and the
Oh
whole thing
no.
I talked about being the Book of Revelations being the blueprint for the New World Order.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Oh, let's carry on then.
all right. So, are you in the prodigal son story?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, if you don't mind, research for it, and this time put KJV.
So not NIV, but KJV, is it?
Yeah, because the NIV pretends to be more simple, but they actually the Bible's already filled with corruption, and they make it worse because they actually they make it. Let's just put it this way: it's meant to make you hate God. You know.
Okay. I don't think it had that effect on me, but we'll see anyway.
Well, I'll give you the example when we get to it, so you can see the difference. So, are you at the KJV?
Sorry?
Okay. So read. Let me see how many verses. 32. Read up to 15. No, sorry. Up to 22.
From 11. Yeah.
Yes, from 11 to 22.
Okay. And he said, a certain man had two sons, and the younger of them said, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he'd spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants, and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry, and would not go in. Therefore came his father out, and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry, and be glad, for this thy brother was dead, and is alive again, and was lost, and is found.
So I'm gonna do the same thing with the gospel of truth. I'm not gonna decode it. I'm not gonna break it down today. I want you guys to take it in. I want you guys to read it for yourself. Many of you know this. It's a pretty popular parable. By the way, this was a parable. This was a story that Jesus was saying to convey a message. So if you want a little more context after this video, go back maybe the previous chapter and you'll get why he's saying the story. And then I will explain it. That'll be the first thing I explain tomorrow, and then I'll explain maybe just 2 to 3 paragraphs of the gospel of truth, because every paragraph is going to take about 10 minutes. All right. Any comments or questions right now?
Not me.
Let's see if anything's in the chat. What gospel? Okay, I read that. You believe Trump may be the Antichrist? Well, I do too, but there's also a possibility that the actual Antichrist comes after him and is already with him.
His son, you're saying his son, aren't you?
There's a couple options. There's his son-in-law or
In
his
law.
son.
Yeah, in law, I think it is, yeah.
One of them two. It could be his son as well, though. We're still in the beginning of sorrows. And you might say, well, what do you mean? You know, I thought, the true father doesn't allow this. Well, if you listened to me earlier, I did mention, I mean, when I say earlier, I mean previous videos. I did mention that in this duality, in this reality, we go through cycles. And not just cycles of the seasons or anything like that, but cycles of beginnings and destructions. Now, they may seem bad, but they're actually necessary. They're necessary so people who haven't found the path could continue to try to find it. Now, I'm just going to say this. If you have a question, I will answer it, but I'm not going to go too deep into it at this moment. So, these cycles of destruction are necessary. Why? Because the first thing we are given is free will. With this free will, we have the ability to do anything, but we also have the ability to return to the Father. And then there's some that don't return to the Father, and that's why the destruction comes, because those who don't return completely separate from the Father to the point that the earth pretty much purges these people out because there's no longer the love energy in order to sustain life. And then a new Genesis begins. Now, who is in control of this? If you've read the Gnostics, the demiurge is in control of this pattern. The demiurge isn't all bad. He's the judge for those that still haven't recognized the truth of the true Father. He maintains the balance so it doesn't tilt to either direction, because either direction is death. He maintains free will. Now he has his angels which also help him, and there's also the angels who rebelled against him. And they were able to rebel because the true Father allowed free will, and these agents of chaos give you your free will. Now your free will isn't for you to just to do whatever you want. Your free will is for you to understand the true Father and understand what you're missing, to understand true love. That's why these beings exist, and that's why this was able to happen. Any questions so far?
Yeah, one just came up. Um, is the demiurge the same as Jesus?
No.
No.
Jesus is his son in the sense that he was born into flesh, just like he is our father too, but he's the father of the material world. He's the father of the material world and the soul, because out of the light that came into this darkness, he was the first light that came out. Thus, he is the perfect balance of light and darkness. And then everything else that's alive has an imbalance. Um, some have more light, some have less light, and they all serve the purpose of getting to know the true Father through this reality.
And when you say about the truth of the Father, am I right in understanding that that is defined as love?
Yes, unconditional love.
That's it then. So as long as you're that is the understanding is to reach that understanding about unconditional love. There's nothing. Everything else is just superfluous, is it?
The understanding is understanding the unconditional love, and thus not only understanding but living it. Now,
Living it.
that doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but you have to strive towards that perfectness.
Yeah, I get you. Because none of us here are perfect, are we?
No. But the difference between us is some don't strive for it at all. They go about their own ways and they want to make themselves the totality. There's those that get lost and come back. Those are the two. Those are the wheat and the tares. The wheat produces fruit while the tares look just like the wheat, but they produce nothing. Because apart from the Father is nothing.
What if you're in a situation where you can't produce any fruit? What if you've realized what you're teaching? You've realized that by yourself, but say you're in a prison and you can't talk about it to anyone. Maybe you're in solitary for years and years, so you can't produce any fruit except inside yourself. How would that count?
Do you mean a literal prison? Because, like, if
A
you're in
literal
actual prison,
a literal prison, yeah.
okay, well,
I'm not in prison, by the way. It was just like a way of expressing my idea, that's all.
okay, well, while you're in the material world, you're already in a technical prison.
Yeah,
Um, well, that's first how it seems to those who don't understand the reality of the true Father. It's not a prison; it's more like a school.
yeah.
Um, Now, if you're in an actual prison, do you mean before you understand this? Like, how can you find it in prison, or
No,
can you
no,
do
I
this?
mean I mean if you're doing 20 years, say in solitary, um, and you realize it, like the knowledge comes to you without a teacher, you just realize it in yourself by going within because there's nothing else to do, I suppose. And you come to realize it and you're full of, you know, you're kind of transformed, but there's no one there to see that or experience that you've become a new person. So how would you produce fruit? How would the fruit be evident, I mean,
Well,
if if
well,
you were by yourself?
you producing fruits. You producing fruit is not about somebody else seeing the fruit. It's about you seeing it and you being that fruit. So it doesn't matter that nobody is there to see it. It's still inside you. Now, your prison scenario has a little bit of a conflict, and now let me explain what I mean. First of all, you would have to say why you're in prison for 20 years in solitude. You must have done something very horrible. So,
Or no, I was actually thinking about um people that had been kidnapped and ended up in these places, sometimes with no light and with just their meal coming under the door once a day.
okay, so not like a law of prison. You mean like just being in captivity.
Captivity is probably better word, yeah.
Okay. Well, you would have to first you're going to need the Father because you're going to feel that inside because you're in captivity. So you're at some point you're going to be called to ask, for help from whoever God is, you know.
Yeah,
You're going to come to that point. Then God will reveal himself to you in different ways. Let's say you're in a prison, right?
yeah.
You're locked up in a room. You can't go out whether there's light or not, even if you're in complete darkness. If you're in complete darkness, he will come to you in your dreams and explain to you the truth that you're looking for. And if there is some light in your room, then he will manifest one way or another in that room. And if somebody does come to serve you food or whatever, maybe the Father will speak through that person. The point is, anywhere you go, the Father could talk to you, but first you have to want to come to him. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but then, so is the fruit then just what's changed inside you because he's come to you, is it?
Yeah, of course. First, it's produced inside you, and then it goes towards actions. But if you have, well, let me just put this: like, it doesn't have to be like literally going physically with your hands and doing a good action. Just you having faith in your Father and having faith in the message once you receive it, that's already shows your good fruit. Because even though you're captive and you're a prisoner, you still have faith.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
You're welcome. So before I go to the Q temple, Um, have I seen the Abraham Accord coin? Yes, I have, and actually, this plays a lot into it. And I did mention it in the previous video, so if you want, you could check out the other videos, where I mentioned the coin. Have you seen the coin, Aaron?
No, I haven't actually. I know you mentioned it. Did you show it on the video, or did we have to look it up, or what?
Yeah, you should look it up because like I said, I can't share my screen. I wish I could, and so I haven't been able to share anything. But
Okay, what's the coin called again?
Abraham Accord.
Oh, it's there. Okay, I will. Should I look at it now? Would that help? Would that be helpful or not?
You can look at it now. I might talk about it. It is part of the Q temple and Revelations and all of that, but doesn't have all the details. But yeah, you can look at it.
This move that Trump made, whenever it was, because time passes so quick, when he moved the, was it the consulate to Jerusalem? That really was meaningful then, like some people said.
Yes, and now the peace treaties are also meaningful, and it's gonna go to them actually building the third temple.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Yeah.
And you
Okay.
know how the Bible says that the Antichrist will appear in it. So
You, yeah,
um, and then he will do the when the Antichrist goes in there, he will how do I say this?
this is to do with the abomination of desolation, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means.
Um, abomination means something
Oh, I know what
complete.
that I know what that means, but I mean the whole phrase. I don't know what that means.
Well, the abomination causes desolation. You know what desolation means?
Yes, yeah,
Like emptiness, right?
yeah. Or sorrow. I would say sorrow in my understanding, I
Look at the
suppose.
definition. Tell me what it
Okay,
is.
I will, but you speak anyway.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I look at the definition then. Also in French, if you say je suis désolé, which I guess is the same root, um, it means I'm sorry.
Let me see something. That can be the only translation. Because if you hear it, desolation is similar to isolation. So,
Yeah,
you see?
right.
A state of complete emptiness or destruction.
Yeah, that's what I've got here. Yeah. Oh, great unhappiness or loneliness. There you are. So we both
Yes.
got a meaning each.
Well, the
Mi-
main the main the main one is causes emptiness and destruction, and through that emptiness and destruction, then you're in great misery. So
yeah, yeah,
so the Antichrist will do the will cause the blasphemy that will be the um no, I forgot the phrase. You just said it. The
the
abomination of
abomination. Yeah.
yeah. And let me put it to you this way. So I will tell you what that means, and then in further videos I'll try to give more proof of what that means. So Q temple. Q is the number 17 in the alphabet. 1 plus 7 equals 8, which is eternity. So they're trying to say that Q is source or the Father God, right? And Q means source actually. It comes from the German Quelle, which means source.
Okay.
So they're saying the temple of source or of God. Now what why am I saying Q? Well, the temple, if you were there when I was reading it, remember the measurements that I said 72 yards?
I
Um,
remember.
okay. So yards is when you get it in the translation that I told you, because that's what we use. But it was actually cubits. They were measuring with cubits. Now it's spelled Cubits, but you know that Q sounds like C and U sometimes. So what's going on? There's a lot of technology coming from Israel. The 5G is coming from Israel. The vaccines are coming from Israel. Even if they tell you it was made here, it was really made there. So, what is Israel trying to do? Israel's trying to, instead of waiting for God to come, they're trying to bring God down to here. They're trying to force him here, and they're planning to use technology to do so. First is the vaccine, which is going to put nanotechnology in you. And then they're also terraforming the earth, like I said. A lot of people will be killed. They will only leave those who take the, they will only leave here those who took the mark. The other ones will be either persecuted or made slaves. That's their goal. Now, how do they plan to bring God down here? You heard of quantum computers?
Yeah. I don't know
That's
what
al-
they are, but I've heard of them.
it's also linked to Q. That's why it's called quantum. So quantum to scientists is basically a computer that could calculate or read into the invisible forces of the universe. So they're going to use quantum computers to bring about the AI, the artificial intelligence, which they're going to claim it's God. That's that. That's the real. The Antichrist is just the leader of um the okay. But the Antichrist is sent by the devil, correct? According to
Yeah.
Christians. Now they won't say it's the devil. They will say it's God. Why? Because the devil claims to be God.
Yeah.
So how do you know it won't be God? Well, because God does not manifest externally. God is inside you. And that's what this whole message is. I'm trying to reach people because a lot of people will be deceived, and that's called the great delusion. Some people will actually believe that it's God because it will say things that you've never heard. And not only that, it will give mankind the knowledge to like basically live forever, but mixed with technology. Just like they say you have to be one with God, well, they want to make you one with the artificial intelligence.
You know, it's a total nightmare. And if you were just telling me this now and I'd never heard anything about it before, I think I'd feel really, really sick and really, really unhappy. But it's like because it's been dripping in over the past, well, I suppose while the coronavirus has been mentioned, since March. And so all these ideas have been drip fed, drip fed, drip fed on different channels. And so, but you're doing a concise and um, easy to listen to explanation. So at least the meat of it isn't new, because if that was new to me, I'd be screaming.
Well, I'm gonna mention these things because they're important, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna focus. This is not my channel's not gonna be about vaccines and quantum
No, no,
computers
I know, but
because
you're at least putting,
that's just a cause fear. Also, like you need to concentrate in the love
yeah.
within, and you don't even have to worry about any of that.
No, 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 don't worry about that because I've already had my internal reactions to the different things that have come through since March. I've already done the fear, done the heartbeat increase and all that sort of thing. But now I'm just like, okay, this is not news now, but there's some new stuff in, obviously, like I said, there's bits I haven't really understood. So I'm glad you're explaining it at least. But I'm not afraid. Don't worry. I'm really not.
Good, because that's the point of my message. The point of my message is to try to prepare you so you're not in fear when all these things come to pass.
I just wish that it would get out to more people, really.
Well, it'll get out to those who are called. And I'll explain to you why those who fall for it, basically, it's not a big deal. And it goes back to what I said, those are the soulless beings. So it's just a body, it doesn't have a real soul.
But is that real that the people that fall for it, it would be easy to fall for, wouldn't it? Surely?
Well, let me put it to you this way. There will be some, like I said, there's three types. There's the soulless being, which is purely material. There's the psychic being, which is those who have faith, but they don't know the complete knowledge of the Father. Those are in the middle. Being in the middle means either your faith will grow enough and you will find it, or you will fall to the delusion and and you'll be part of the system. Now, since you have a soul, you have an ability to come back. Anybody who has a soul can keep reincarnating until they reach that point. And then those who are in tune with the Father will know this and won't fall for it. So my point is, and I'll give you the proof later. My point is, those who actually perish and cease to exist, you don't have to worry. They were really nobody in reality. I know it's hard to accept, but they were really just shadows. There weren't really light in them. They're the vessels that are allowed to exist in order for you to understand God. Like they're the ones that play like in the movie, there's the good guy and there's the bad guy, and they're playing their role. Well, these people, they're allowed to exist just so they could show you what the Father is not. And that's how you come to understand the Father. For you to understand that God is unconditional love, then you need to understand what is not unconditional love. And that's what you're here to learn in this reality.
Do you think there's people that love unconditionally that have never really thought about the Father? Or there must be people like that who are really loving, but they never really thought about where they come from or why they're here? Or do you
No,
think?
I think it's impossible.
Okay.
Because for you to even think of a father that's unconditional and that loves you no matter what, then you have to have a need to desire that. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
why do you care about God being unconditional unless you like if you don't fear any God and you don't believe in God, then you have no need for an unconditional father.
No.
If that makes any sense. So I'm just gonna this is the last thing I'm gonna say about it for now. These soulless beings, they're basically human clones created by the dark forces, which are also alien races. I know it sounds crazy, but
I know. I know. I know.
so they were created in order to infiltrate us and get us to relinquish our light to them so they could survive longer. And that's what this is about. Like the whole technology is in order to keep your light low enough where they could feed off you and you don't escape, but at the same time not destroy you completely by making you last longer through transhumanism.
These people, the soulless ones that taking your light and so on, that's what we call energy vampires, isn't it? When you know someone and you believe they're as human as you are, but they kind of suck all your energy out when you kind of you want to give them some love really because you think that they're just needing that, but it's
And
not that.
they believe it themselves
Yeah.
because they're using your light, your energy to be alive. So they experience things just like you would, and they cry and they have emotions, but they don't have any real deep empathy. So the difference is they feed off yours. They're alive because of your light, while you have a self-generating light. So let me give you this example. Lightning is natural. It's self-occurring, self-generating, and electricity is like a lower form of lightning that is manipulated and controlled. So think of humans with a soul as pure lightning, while soulless beings as electricity.
Okay.
That's the best example I could come up with at this moment.
Okay.
All right, so let me see the comments. Explains quantum computing. He claims to be running the QAnon operation. Yes, it can be scary stuff, but it's not worth being fearful. Yes, that's correct, Keith. If you're right with the Father, it will all be okay. This stuff is coming too quickly.
That's why I did the face when he said it's coming quickly. I thought, oh gosh.
Yeah, we're in the age of Aquarius, which is what's you know how the Aquarius looks?
Yes, the water carrier.
Yeah, but what's it like? What's the exact position he's in?
Not sure. Don't know.
Then, if you want to look it up, so I could explain it.
Okay. Symbol. Aquarius symbol, yeah?
Yeah,
Um oh, okay. This is shown as zigzag lines.
no, no, no. Just put Aquarius and go to images and look for the one that's a man with a big jug of water.
Okay.
That's a very good example, Keith.
My images is not giving me a man. It's only giving me either zigzags or a jug of water on its own. Oh, here we are. I've got a man with, which is kneeling, like giving the knee, right? And um, it's holding a big jug with water coming out of it. That's interesting. He's doing the knee thing, though.
Well, it just means like um the man symbolizes the how do I say this? The choosing to do God's will. So you're submitting your will to God's will. That's why he's kneeling.
Okay,
Now the jug, the water represents the spirit, the outpouring of the spirit. Now you must understand this. We live in a duality. Every symbol means good and evil. It could be interpreted either way. So every age is like that. Every sign is an age. It's a time period of humanity. So in the Aquarius age, when he's outpouring the water or the spirit, it means two things. It means spirit is being poured out into humanity or truth so they could understand the Father. And it also means that there will be vessels that will be emptied of the spirit.
okay,
So depending where you are in your path, either the spirit will be poured onto you or your spirit or whatever light you have will be taken out of you.
okay.
So what happens? So that's why revelations, which means, to reveal the truth, right?
Yeah,
That's why revelation has so much destruction because they actually both happen at the same time. As things are being destroyed and as humanity is um losing its spirit, so are others being revealed the truth of the Father at the same time.
okay.
So the time of so how do I put this? So destruction is necessary for some to achieve connection with the Father. Why? Because the truth is exposed by the lie. The lie needs to come so you could see through it and see the truth behind it. If everything was perfect, right, all the time, then you don't need your unconditional father, do you?
No, of course not. I've explained this to other people that if things were always good, to put it another way, you wouldn't know what goodness was, would you?
Exactly. So in order to wake up those who are in the middle, there's three people: the dead, the sleep, and the awakened. The dead are those who have no care for God, at least in that moment. The asleep are those who have faith, but they don't know the full message, which is that God is unconditional. And the awake are the ones who know the Father. Now, all three could be saved, but there's the only one who's completely saved is the one who's awake. The other two have a chance, but they also have a chance to perish. Now, usually the one that's asleep will always wake up because he's asleep. And the one that's dead could be raised from the dead, but he could also stay dead. So there's the resurrection, which is coming back from dead to life. And also there's the ones that are asleep that awaken. That's why they say sleep is a cousin of sorry, sleep is a cousin of death because it's similar, but it's not the same.
Okay. Because you have the potential to wake up.
Exactly. You're asleep, but you could wake up. Now, even the dead can, because there's that's where the story comes from the Old Testament where um sorry, not the Old Testament. When Jesus dies, right? It says that he spent 3 days in hell and he was preaching the message to the prisoners. Why was he doing that? That's a symbol of those who were imprisoned in death. Um, Christ comes to try to resurrect them with the message, and those who accept it, raised from the dead. That's also the resurrection of the dead in Revelations. It's not real dead people that are going to come out of the grave. It's just those that are the walking dead could be raised back to life.
How will that happen?
It comes with the destruction. So let me put it to this way: the awake see it coming from a mile away. The asleep wake up right, like basically the chaos wakes them up from their sleep, and so do the dead. But the dead is like I'm telling you, you don't want to be in that dead category because it takes a miracle.
Yeah,
So um, that's why God says, don't fear those who may. Sorry, when I say God, I mean Jesus. Um, don't fear those who could take your body, but fear that fear that who could take your body and your soul. So basically, don't fear physical death. Fear losing your soul. Any questions?
I'm good at the moment.
Now, once again, like I said, most that are asleep could wake up. Some don't. Um, and you might say, well, how is that fair? Why are all saved? Well, it goes back to free will. You could be saved anytime you want, but if you choose not to, then God will allow it to happen. He does all types of calls. He calls you day and night in many different ways, but if you don't answer the call, then that's your decision. And now I'm gonna take it to the higher level, which is, like I said, everything is God, and God is experiencing the totality of Himself. So I'm gonna put it to you this way: let's picture. I want you to follow along with me and try to picture this. Picture pure light. It's just a white room. Like, you ever seen The Matrix?
Yeah,
Okay, picture pure white but without the people. Like, don't picture Neo or Morpheus, just picture pure white. That was God at the beginning, just pure light. Then there came a moment where he starts analyzing himself, and through that self introspective look to himself, all the possibilities that exist within himself appear. Now, let's say, you know, he saw everything, good and bad, love, hate, killing, death, asteroids, everything you could think of, he thought of. But after he's done thinking about all of that, and he knows he is life, he then says, well, now that I've thought about everything, I know what I am. I am love. And once that happens, which it already happened, but we're delayed here.
Yeah.
Once that happens, all these other things that he imagined that were the opposite of himself, he erases them. And that's when he reabsorbs back all the parts of him into himself, and he is of one mind, and that's love, which like I said, already happened. So all these things that you see that are not of God are just thoughts that he thought about, but he didn't make that thought into himself. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So that's what's happening in the bigger picture. And out of that introspection is everything that I told you. The material world, the first spirits, the aliens, us, animals, everything, all of that comes from his thoughts. He thought about everything, and then once he was done examining himself, says, I am love. And then those then cease to exist. But remember, there's no real death. That was just him thinking. We are all just being the experience of his thoughts. There is no real death in the Father. Um, Part of revaluations is yes, dead coming back to life. I have one question. If we're able to live forever, so to speak, from a technological standpoint, then what do people really have to fear? Well, Keith, as I explained previously, and I think in this video too, you cannot live forever technologically. So I'll tell you why, for example. Only only the true Father can create life. When 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 we try to create it, it's just a copy, it's not original. That's what we're doing with everything. We're getting the DNA of a fruit or whatever, and then we're replicating it to make basically fake food. Like you might say it's not fake, it has DNA. Yeah, but you're just getting the material and it's missing its energetic essence. Because God gives the essence, God gives the spirit to it or the energy. We can't do that. We could replicate the material, but we can't put any spirit or any life into it. So that's one of the main reasons we are going to go into transhumanism, because it's going to come to a point that our food is basically nothing, that our body's going to start dying. And that's why they mix us with robots so we could survive living in a world that's empty. But then when they do that, once they remove the body in order to survive, everything breaks down, because you are not just your mind. You are your mind, your soul, your heart. All these things work together to give you life. If they remove everything and just leave the mind, then you're basically just a copy of the original. So even if they were to get your consciousness and put it in a computer, it will never be you. It's just a copy. It's just a mimic. It's an imposter. And thus, since they do that, then they have no real energy to extract, and thus this physical world starts destroying itself.
You know the vaccination, the
Yeah.
vaccine, sorry. And there's rumors that they're gonna eventually, when that comes along, they're gonna apply that by force. So what if you're awake, but they jab you?
Then, if that were to happen, then it would have no effect on you.
Not at
Be-
all?
No, like your spirit will overpower the technology.
Okay.
But it is very likely that they're not going to do that because they can't. It's
Why
not
can't they?
because the Father created this with the laws of free will. These evil dark energies cannot break the laws. They could only work within the law. That's why they have to persuade you to take it.
So that explains why. So the killing that happened in other wars and things was within the free will thing, but this actually trying to change our DNA is not. Yeah.
No, of course not.
Okay.
But it's still up to you because this is going to be the question. It is going to be forced on you, but not by strapping you down. It's going to be forced on you by saying if you don't take it, then you don't get to participate in society. You don't get to live. And then it's
But
your
why?
choice
But why won't they strap people down? They've done it before for other reasons.
because this is different.
Okay.
They're going to give you the choice.
But why?
But the choice is not really a choice. The choice
No.
is life here or death. Now why? Why you say why? Okay. Because the difference between this vaccine and the rest is the other choices, they have good and bad outcomes, right? But
Yeah.
they don't disturb your ability to connect with God. This would eliminate your free will, like of connecting with God. That's the free will that I'm talking about.
Of course. I know. I understand now. So that's not going to be allowed.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
So
Let me give you an example. You know how a lot of rich people they get away by not paying taxes?
yeah.
Well, that's because they know how to work around the law. Well, it's the same thing. God created a law, and the evil could only work around it, but they can't destroy it. So the workaround is, well, I could take their free will if they're willing to relinquish it. That's the workaround.
Okay.
And the thing is, if you have the Father inside, you know that you're meant to go back with the Father. So you shouldn't have a desire to stay here over going to the Father. You should not fear death because you're not meant to stay here anyway.
No. So when they keep putting off the vaccine, like saying, "Oh, somebody's reacted badly, and we'll probably have one in 6 months," they're going to put it off indefinitely because they realise they're not going to get away with that. I suppose. But then they're going to use other methods to depopulate us. I suppose.
So this is how it's gonna work, in my opinion. Either if there's enough people to agree to take it, they will give it right away, and people will take it, and those who don't, little by little, your freedoms will be taken away. And then you're gonna either have to choose to take it and survive physically or just be willing to die and not participate.
What do you mean, die because you can't go to the shops, or?
Yeah, because they won't let you do anything.
Hmm.
So if the majority of people are okay, then they will do it. If the majority of people are not, they will put it off, and then they'll cause another event, either a mutation of it or another virus or something. All the way, they'll keep pushing it till those who live in fear all take it, and those who don't fear don't take it. But the point is, they're gonna continue to put agendas until most people are willing to take the mark, because like that, it's how it's proven who knows the Father and who doesn't. And that goes back to The story of Job, you've heard it, right?
Yeah, but it's probably not the time here, is it? But you can talk about that maybe because I've people have been saying it's the most important book in the Bible. I mean, that's a point of view, obviously.
Wait, say that again.
Some people have been saying recently that that's the most important book in the Bible, Job.
Well, pretty much. Why do you think they call it Job or Job? Because if you have faith, right? If you have faith in the true Father, then you do the work, you do the job. And the job is for you to love the Father so much, just like He loves you, that you will be willing to risk your own life, even if like to be with Him. Like you won't give in to material things.
Mm.
Because the story is he lives a decent life because he's a good man. And then Satan comes to God and he's like, hey, I see Job there. You know that he doesn't really love you because he loves you. He loves you because you treat him good. He loves you because you gave him a good house and a nice family and all these things. And God is like, nope, you're wrong, Satan. He loves me till the end. And then Satan's like, well, let me go test him. Let me see and prove to you that he doesn't. And then he says, okay, you could do anything you want with him, but you can't kill him. And then Satan goes and kills his family, all his animals die, he loses everything. And then Job is like, even though he questions God, he's like, God, why? Why did you do this? Help me understand. What did I do wrong? The point is, even though he questioned him, he still had faith to question him. Because some people go through that and they'll be like, God isn't real because he allowed this to happen.
Mm.
So
Heard that
those are,
many times, yeah.
yeah. So that's basically what's gonna happen to all of us. Like we're gonna be taken out of our comfort zone to see how much faith we truly have.
I spent all my life out of my comfort zone, have you, Dan?
Oh, it's only gonna get rougher. And I know people don't want to hear this. This is the part I never wanted to share with people, but I would be lying if I didn't.
What, have you got more? Or are you referring to what you just said now?
Oh yeah, what I said here, because most people, what they want is they want the world to become paradise, and they could go about their life without fear, and continue to marry and work and have money and have cars and have just they want to keep everything, but let it be peaceful.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna happen because that's not the point. You're here to learn who your father is and how you are. You're not here to enjoy being in duality, enjoy being in division.
So, just slightly going off the subject, but it is relevant as well. So, when people have these near death experiences and they think their family are there in the shining light, that's a deception, isn't it?
Um, it could be if they were about to die and then it tells them, oh, you could go back or whatever. It could be a deception because if you do come back, you're saying, yeah, I don't want to die. I don't want to be with God. So
Mm,
then you return here. But it's not totally bad. What's bad is when you take the mark of the beast, which is making a physical thing your God, which is going to be the AI.
yeah. But you wouldn't have much choice once if they were going to vaccinate you with that stuff. You wouldn't really have any choice because, like you said, your free will would be gone, wouldn't it?
If you take it, your choice is life here
Mm.
or life with the Father. That's your choice.
And life here won't be life, not by any standards, anyway.
Yeah, and it's not really life right now, not completely.
No.
So That's the thing. Like that's where it goes where it says the sheep will be separated from the goats. You'll be the separation is gonna be those who follow the Father because they're the Son and they want to be together because they're one, and those who want to be God or want to live apart from God. Because your free will is for you to understand God, but other people
Mhm.
want to take their free will to be God, and it's just not possible.
Can I ask you something else? It is relevant. So you're saying that they're trying to bring God down with their actions, to bring God here. Well, what do they want from him by doing that? What do they expect that's going to happen for them?
Well, they think it's God. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They don't really know it's the enemy. They think it's God. And what they're trying to achieve is what I said, immortality in the flesh, because they believe that this AI is going to tell them the secrets to immortality here.
So what are they expecting to see manifested? You say this AI. Well, what are they hoping to see when they do all this?
They're hoping to see how the universe was created, and thus knowing how the universe was created, they intend to control life here. Because once you understand something,
You
you
just
can break it down, and that's what they're trying to do. That's what CERN is about, the Hydro Collider thing.
yeah. What's that for?
Well, that's what they're doing. They're trying. They say they even admit it. They're saying they're trying to find the God particle. So they're trying to go down to the microscopic level to see what makes life life, and they feel like if they could understand it, they could control it. Just like the same thing, they try to understand the DNA so they can modify it. So they're trying to find whatever makes life work and then modify it to immortality instead of to death.
Okay. Your line was quite bad the past 2 minutes. When I said to you, what are they hoping to see? You answered, but I didn't hear. I think it was probably one word or one phrase. What did you say, Avidan?
Okay, I said they're hoping to see the secrets of how the universe was created. Because
Okay.
if they know the blueprint, if they could understand it, they believe that they could modify it to end physical death.
Okay. Okay. So they're not actually expecting to see a particular, like, anybody coming in a chariot or in the clouds. They're hoping for an understanding.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Okay.
why do you think they're calling the cloud the cloud? No,
I did.
the cloud, where you store stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So with the AI is supposed to get all human knowledge plus all knowledge that all computers have about the structure of the planet, the heat. They're gonna basically this AI is gonna get all the information available, and it's supposed to be able to basically give them a mathematical equation on how to make immortality possible.
Seriously, it's the first I've heard of that. Wow. Where did you find that out, Avidan?
A lot of different research,
Okay.
but that's what they're trying to do. But why won't it work? Because that AI is gonna understand everything, and it's gonna mix the good with the evil and make it into one, instead of what the father does, which is he gets both knowledges and keeps the good and erases the rest. But they can't reach the true father because he can't contain him. You can't. It's only within, not without. So they're trying to get the knowledge that's without, and the knowledge that's without is only going to give them the calculation of the duality. It's not going to give them the it's not going to give them the calculation of the pleroma, and thus they're going to fail. They're going to use technology. People will last longer. The people that choose to mark, it's not going to be like they took it and the destruction happens right away. Like the people that take it will live in a paradise type living for a while. until the whole system breaks down and the reset comes about.
Where do the aliens come into this, or is that for another day?
Okay, I'll give you a short summary. So, like I said, God the Father was one. He, when he thought about everything, that created emanations, which means extensions of of himself. And then one of the extensions, like I said, is called wisdom. And wisdom, in order to understand the Father, decides to separate from the Father, which is called evil. Like when you separate, is how you understand, because you see what God isn't. You need to see the polar opposite to understand what God is. So he separates, and then she makes this world, this universe. And for scientists, she is the Big Bang. She created the Big Bang, if you want to connect it to her. And it's not, when I say her, it's because that's what it's symbolized as. Because through this, she receives the Father. That's why wisdom is a female. It's not really a female, it's just the symbol of it, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So when this Big Bang happens, is when chaos is, and that's why you have good and evil, you have this mixture. And the first thing that comes about is the spirit of the demiurge, which is the god of this material world. Now, since he's the first spirit, he has the most complete mixture of good and evil. He is not the true father because he's still good and evil into one, but he's the most balanced. Then that demiurge creates the angels and then creates humanity and the world and all of this stuff with the materials created by Sophia, by wisdom. And so since the world duality of good and evil, all his creation has good and evil. So that's why the angels were able to go against him, and then the chief angel tries to go against him and put make himself God, which is what these people are worshiping and claiming to be God. So there's a battle between the demiurge, which is the god of this world, and his fallen angel, and we're basically stuck in the middle. We It's like a real war. There's two countries going to war, but there's innocent people in the war, and that represents us. Now, through this war, through this good and evil, we recognize who the true Father is, and thus, with this knowledge, we could ascend out of this material world into the pleroma. When all the souls that are here that choose to go back to the Father go, and then the other ones that choose to stay here stay, we go back to the pleroma, and then the ones that stay here slowly and slowly and slowly continue to lose their light until their light is completely put out, and then this world stops existing.
What was the last
What's the last thing you heard? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? If anybody can hear me, press a one. Okay. I don't know why I can't hear you, Aaron. But type the question if you can, because I can't hear you. The AI will basically appear like God to people. They know their souls are heading, so they are trying to usurp their own death. Yes. Um, Legends, Sophia is just wisdom personified. I will explain to you these details later, when we go to the cosmology. But just so you get a gist of it, um, Sophia is not a real goddess or is not a person. It's just the aspect of God called wisdom. Um, sh- she is she is the personification of God understanding Himself. Hello.
Hi, I lost you for about 2 minutes there. The Wi-Fi went off again. Can you Are you able to remember what you said just?
What was your question?
No, no, I mean the talk before you were just answering Keith's question in chat, you were still talking. What were you saying?
Oh, I can't remember now. Because then after that, I read Legend's question and then I answered his question. So now I can't remember what I was saying before that.
Is Legends here now as well?
Yeah, he just came in.
Oh, nice. Hi, Legends.
So he was asking me who Sophia is. And what I was telling him is Sophia is not like a separate god or a goddess. She's just the aspect of God that seeks to understand himself. So basically, the story of Sophia is just giving a story to the idea of God trying to know himself. So, because in Gnostic cosmology, everything is God. There's just different images of him, but he's all that exists. There's no other gods or angels. Even the fallen angels and the good angels and the demiurge, they're all images of the true Father. But those are all the images that appeared when he tried to know himself. Once he knows himself, um, they don't serve a purpose.
Okay. You other guys that just come in now have got loads to catch up on. You're going to have to listen to it.
So legends, let me tell you this. Yeah, I know you're interested in Sophia because I know you guys have this mosque called Mosque of Sophia or something like that. Now let me tell you this. What I'm teaching is Gnostic theology. And if you go back to the beginning of Islam, they were Gnostics at the beginning. I think they're still sort of Gnostic, but then they got religionized, just like every other religion. Like they got mixed with other stuff. But yeah, um, the Muslims were Gnostics at the beginning. They were the Sunni Gnostics, the Sunni mystics.
Legends, do you know about Rumi? Have you encountered Rumi? What does Gnostic mean, Evidan, first of all?
Gnostic is somebody who has achieved gnosis. Gnosis means knowledge, but not only knowledge, it means personal knowledge, meaning having a connection with the Father. It's not so much about intellectual knowledge, it's more of just knowledge of the self.
And some spread has asked, he says Jews. What do you mean by Jews? Can you clarify?
Well, I didn't mention Jews for a while, so I don't know if you're talking about when I was talking about Israel trying to create the temple and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I mean by Jews, I mean the type of Jews that believe in that. They believe that they could bring their God here and reign here and take over the world through through their God. But they don't know they're worshiping the wrong father. That's why Christ, when he was alive, he was talking to them. He says, "Of course you don't understand me or listen to me because you're children of the devil. You are a brood of vipers." Meaning they seek to be God just like the devil does. So that's why they're doing all these things because that's what they believe. They believe that they're chosen to be the kings of the world. So yeah. So basically, the God here and the angels and all of this is just basically God examining all the possibilities, which are endless, because he is unlimited. So he looks at everything, and then he chooses to be loved because he understands that since he is life, then he is love. So he can't, not that he can't, but he it's not in his nature to pick something that would be devoid of life, which is what certain people in this world are trying to do. They're trying to eliminate their life and become a different type of life, which is basically just a robot without any humanity. So, any questions
Can you
before
hear
I
me?
go? Sorry.
It's okay. My Wi-Fi went funny again for a moment.
So you didn't hear nothing I said.
No, no, it's okay. It was only for a second. Don't worry.
All right. So this is where I'm going to leave it for now. So the last subject was what I call the Q temple, because Q equals source, and they believe that through technology they could bring source or God here, but what they don't know is that they're not bringing source, bringing the opposite, and thus anybody who accepts this false God as their God, then and takes it within themselves, then you're gonna disappear basically.
Can I
And
explain? Go on,
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
Since they know so much, which they've written all down in the Bible, so they've known a lot and planned it, how is it they don't know this that they're wrong and what they're hoping for isn't going to happen?
Because the essence of darkness, the essence of a dark spirit, is smart in its own way, but it cannot understand the Father. And that's how they're able to be deceived by the darkness. Like they're able to believe that they could achieve this, and they don't understand that they can't. And that's why Jesus says that the light came unto men, and the darkness could not comprehend it. So basically, those who dwell in darkness believe that they exist apart from light. They don't understand that they are just a shadow of it. And if they don't cling onto the light, then they become nothing. But again, like I said, that's just a thought. You can have a thought, but it doesn't become true until it's a reality in your mind. So, like I said, God examined everything. He had all types of thoughts, and then he accepted love as the reality. But through this whole story playing in the mind of God, that's how this darkness appears, and they have their role to play, which is, to exist, to give us that have the light the ability to recognize the difference. I know you're stuck on this, Aaron. I could tell.
No, I'm not. I'm actually reading Legends' message that he just put in. I'm not I'm not saying that I completely understand because um I probably don't. But no, I'm going along with you and I'm yeah, I'm understanding but not completely because it's all new, isn't it?
Yes. Let me give you this example. Have you ever been in a dream and you've done something horrible in the dream?
Uh no.
You've never done anything horrible in a dream? Really?
Really.
That's very weird.
I'm not weird. Well, I am probably.
And nothing horrible has ever happened to you?
What, in a dream?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I've had a dream where I went against my nature and I was shouting really, really loud, but I don't know what the reason for it was. I don't remember the bit of the dream that made me shout loud. I don't know if that helps at all.
Okay, so in you never had a dream where you fight somebody, or you had to defend for your life and you kill somebody because you're defending your life. You never had anything like that.
Never. The only thing I remember, and this goes back to childhood, is that I knew that if there were scary ghosts in the dream or something, that I could jump down the stairs. And if I jumped down the stairs, I'd wake up.
Hmm.
I mean, the stairs in the dream, not the real stairs, obviously.
Okay, well, since you haven't had that experience, then it might not make sense to you. But the point is, whatever you dream in your dream, if it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. Like, just because you dream something doesn't mean that's you. Like, it's just a dream.
Yeah,
So when God thinks, just picture it as dreaming. And he dreams about everything, and then there's some bad things that he dreams, but he recognizes that that's not who he is. Thus, it never really existed. It was just part of the dream.
yeah.
So I don't know if that makes it a little bit clearer what I mean about what's going on here.
It does, it does. Don't get me wrong, I am understanding, but I'm not assuming that I'm understanding. Do you know what I mean? I can say to you, yeah, yeah, I understood everything you said, which I did. But on the deeper level, I'm thinking, did I really understand it? So I think you know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I've had many dreams. I guess I'm just the weird one since nobody's had dreams like this. I have dreams where I've been driving and for some reason I pull over um under a bridge, and then when I'm there, this shadowy figure comes. I know it's a person, but I can't see their face, and they pretty much stab me to death.
Oh gosh. But I think that's your subconscious because you shared, was it last time or the time before, about about with people not listening to you, and I suppose that those people that weren't accepting what you were saying were maybe the people that were trying to kill you or kill the truth
Oh
inside you,
no,
maybe.
that's what I'm saying. Like my point is, I wasn't really killed. It was just a a dream. It was just a thought in my mind.
Yeah, I know, but psychologists would have a field day with all that, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah. So God is having a dream or he's having a thought, but not what's happening to him or the evil that's happening in his dream is not a part of him.
Can I just
Does that
ask
make
one more
sense?
question? I know you really want to go now, but there's one more thing, and you can save it to another time if you want. But it's been bugging me this evening since you said that God was started off was just light, and then started to think about all the possibilities and realized that he was love, and so he kind of um let go the other aspects.
Exactly. That's what it's called, the letting go. That's the
Yeah,
best way to express it. Okay.
okay. But when he was just light, I don't mean just because obviously it's something immense and important. Um, are there any writings or teachings that deal with how that light came to be there, or is that just a mystery forever?
That's the mystery of God.
Okay,
Supposedly we could only know that once we go to the pleroma and be with the Father. But it cannot supposedly it's not revealed while you're here.
okay. I had another that you just reminded me of something else. When we go to the pleroma, is anybody already there? That's lived before, I mean.
But that's what I told you earlier. Like let's say because people die at different points. Um their souls going to the pleroma right now. Like
Okay,
it doesn't have to
okay,
happen at the end.
okay.
But
So
the thing
so
is, when you're in the pleroma, you're outside of time. So like when this person goes to the pleroma, they're experiencing everything after everything here. So like they'll see people that he or she left on Earth, but yet they're already there because the ones that are meant to be there are already there.
yes. Yeah, you said that, didn't you, a couple of talks ago? So
Yes.
that may be something to do with these visions of family waiting, though. Then I suppose it means that those people that see family waiting probably are going to the pleroma. Then
Yes.
I get it now. Okay.
Now, just remember this though. Like when you get to the pleroma and you are reabsorbed into the Father, you don't have a physical body.
Oh no, I know that.
So basically, you'll have all the memories of all your family and every little thing you did and everything, not even just your life. You'll be able to see anything you want. You'll
Yeah.
be able to be at any time you want, but without the actual experience of suffering.
But is that in eternity? So you've got eternity to go and visit all these times and places in
Yeah, there's
spirit.
no time.
Mm.
So this is, according to the Gnostics, it ends there. Now, I'm not sure about that, so I said I don't trust, not that I don't trust, but I don't believe anybody has the whole truth. In my opinion, and I'm not sure about, I'm just going to give you the two options. The option is once that happens, and it's the last reset, because like I said, there's been previous resets before, but there is a last one, which is when the material world stops existing. Um, there is theories that say once that happens, that say you live eternally, knowing everything with the Father, but yet there's no death. And others say that you do return to the Father and there's no death, but if you choose to, you could go back into this type of reality.
Yeah.
And you might say, well, who wants to go back to here? Well, I don't know, but apparently you could do that. So
Some people, some belief systems say there's ascended beings, don't they? That the people that choose to come back to help. Is
yeah,
that true?
well, that's what they say, and I believe it's true.
Hmm.
Now you got to remember, um, there's here material world, and then there's pleroma, but there's also a whole bunch of different realities in between. So it's not just like I jumped from here all the way to the highest god, and like some could do that, and some actually go through steps. So there's actually like like heaven, like described in the Bible. There's like heaven like realities, but that's not the true Father. That's just the fair and balanced heaven of the demiurge. I know that confused the hell out of you, right?
No, my first question popped into my mind was what's going to happen to the demiurge?
No, the demiurge actually gets saved too.
Okay.
The ones that don't get saved are the fallen angels because they can't. Like I said at the beginning, there's light came into this world, so everything's a mixture of light and darkness, right? But since the demiurge was the first thing that came out, he has more light than darkness. That's why he's able to be somewhat fair. Um, but some of the angels were made with like almost pure darkness. So when this how do I say this? When this return back to source happens, the demiurge gets put into the pleroma as well.
Okay.
But it's like in it, but like because there's steps. Okay, so the first step is the material world stops, demiurge gets saved, it goes into the pleroma, but in like the low levels, and there's a whole bunch of other aeons, and you can go through them until they all go back into the Father. Like it's an upward procession, but like slowly. Now it
Is
happens
that
instantly for the Father, but to us, it's gonna seem like a whole bunch of different things going on.
is that represented by Jacob's ladder or ladder symbolism, or is that nothing to do with it?
Yeah, it does actually,
Hmm.
because he wrestles with God. So wrestling with God is like wrestling with the nature of God, like trying to understand God. That's what it's supposed to mean.
Okay.
Any questions?
Everything you say raises questions, Avidan.
All right, one more and then save them for tomorrow because I can't.
Right.
I need to do a few things.
I'm going to be quiet now and leave it to the floor.
Well, I think they're having their own conversation. Let me see.
That's great, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, they're having their own conversation. So, do you don't have any question?
I've probably got a million, but I can't actually pick
Just pick
one.
one.
I can't. No, no, I can't identify one. I should have said they're all there in my, just below the surface, and I can't pick one at the moment.
Okay.
Thanks for
So,
scaring me to. Thanks for scaring me to death, though.
yeah, I know it's scary. So everything that I just explained, I will show you from the different Gnostic texts.
Yeah,
Now, why do I believe them? Like I said, I don't believe them 100%, but I believe they're super close. And why do I believe them? Because they match more the unconditional love in a way,
yes,
and because they were highly persecuted and killed. Like,
yeah. All right, I got a question because I told you about my new friend, didn't I? I'm going to bring him on here, Avidan. He's agnostic himself, but that's why I'm going to ask you. Do you know about the Essenes very much?
not too much. But let me say this though. I'm a Valentinian Gnostic, which is
Okay.
different than a Sethian and an Ophite and and all these things. Like these people, they believe pretty much the same, except they believe the demiurge is pure evil and that he doesn't get saved. The Valentinians are more in the middle because they they basically believe since everything's a part of the Father, um, this God that creates our physical existence cannot be pure evil. Thus, we wouldn't even be here. Like he wouldn't have the power to create anything if he was pure evil. If it was pure evil. So that's the main difference between the Valentinians and the rest. The Valentinians are more in the middle, where they see the function of the demiurge and all these things, while the Gnostics, I mean, while the Sethians and the other ones are like, everything here is evil. You have to leave, and all these other things will not exist.
Yeah,
Because the Valentinians, they teach you the duality, but then they teach you the singularity, while the other Gnostics are just pure dualistic. Like they're still stuck between like good and evil. They still believe that evil has its own power and good has its own power.
yeah,
They don't understand that it's all from the true Father. Like they try to separate what's evil from the Father because they don't want to believe that. They fear believing that.
yeah. Okay. I'm going to look. I'm going to research the Valentinians now to see where you're coming from. But look, some spread lies, other know the truth. Who is who has asked you a question. If you make a claim, you need to back it up with proof. Can you apply that with what you're saying? But which bit?
Well, if you're talking about everything I'm explaining now, the only proof I have is what the Valentinians um said, which is what I'm trying to tell you. Can I have actual physical proof of what I'm saying? Of course not. You can't have physical proof of spiritual things. If you want to, if you want, you can accept that, or if you don't, you don't. But as far as I know, there is no complete physical truth of the invisible things. That's where faith comes in. I
Is
know
that all
people don't
right?
like it.
Is that all right? Some spread lies, others know the truth. Who is who?
I can only validate it by what I read from the Gnostics and what I felt, because what I felt inside led me to that knowledge. And then when I read it, It made me feel complete, while every other place that I went made me have too many questions and made me confused. Now, like I said, it's not the end all be all because after reading that, God led me to other things.
He's asking, so it boils down to belief, but it's faith is more than belief, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but it's okay. Um, I'll say what you want me to say because it's the truth. It goes down to belief. Now, if you want to believe that belief is a lie, then that's up to you. I believe these things because I could feel it inside and I could see it around me. That's my evidence, but it's my evidence. It's my gnosis. That's what gnosis is. Gnosis is knowledge from within, knowledge through your experience. So, if you want a scientifical fact, if you want me to prove it through science, then I cannot.
Until we see one another question, can I tell you of a little analogy I thought of today, Avidan?
Go ahead.
Take about 2 minutes. You know when you keep saying like not to associate you with a message.
Yes.
I just thought of this kind of, it came into my mind about some people that made a settlement somewhere, probably an old people, they didn't have modern facilities or anything. And so for their water supply, they had a river, but it wasn't very reliable because obviously when it was hot and sunny, the river would dry up a bit. So they had to ration, and there were leaves and insects and stuff in the river. So their drinking water was okay, but it wasn't perfect. But they could see this mountain, and there was a stream of water coming from the mountain, like a gushing flow, but they had no idea how to access that. So they carried on with their river, and then an engineer arrived in the village. And to cut a long story short, the engineer didn't need like other people, he just knew what to do. So he went up the mountain to the river, and he was able to he was able to channel the water down to the village to fulfill their needs. So they were so pleased, and they loved the engineer, and they were like, oh, wow, thank you so much. And they invited him to all their parties and all that sort of thing, and got quite, I suppose, quite attached to him. And then one day he says, well, don't get attached to me because I'm probably going to have to go off to another job eventually. Um, and so they're like, oh, no, don't go. But they said, well, he said, well, it's not yet, but eventually I will be going. So don't get attached to me. So, yeah, eventually that day comes. But whenever they think about the water and the need they had that was filled by the engineer, they're going to talk about him. Do you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But let me tell you this, and I don't know how you'll take it. I don't know how people will take it, because most people they hear Jesus and they think religion, and they're being deceived because Jesus wasn't religious. He was spiritual. They just twisted it and made it into a religion. And one of the things he says is that he leaves this message with, his disciples. But even if he were to be gone and all his disciples, his message would survive. And even if there were no humans left, the rocks would start speaking the truth.
Yeah, that's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes. So the message is the truth about God, like, will always exist no matter if the messenger is gone. One way or another is going to manifest.
Yeah. But I think you're in the duality when you're worrying, like that you don't want to, because you've seen it before where the message has been confused with the deliverer of the message in different religions, and so people have worshipped Jesus or worshipped the Buddha, or worshipped Muhammad, and so on, and you don't want that. You don't want people to think, oh wow, Avidan's so great, he's told us all this stuff, because you're focusing on the message and not on yourself. But
Yes.
you it's not like something bad if you're being appreciated and thanked. That is quite a dualistic thing to say. Well, it is in my opinion. You probably beg to differ. But yeah, don't worry about it. If you're going to get
Well, it's not, because when you thank me, you are being dualistic, because you should be thanking God, because that's the source of this, not me.
yeah, if we're all one, if I thank you, I am
So,
thanking God. Then
eh, it depends how you do it. It depends how you do it. If you're saying thank you for telling me the word of God, or teaching me about God, then maybe. But don't ever believe that I created this, or anything like that. So,
no, but
um,
I know that. I
what
hope
I'm trying to
everyone else.
say, what I'm trying to say is this. So, even Christ did the same. Almost all the time, when he did a miracle and there wasn't a lot of people around, he would tell the person, "Don't tell anybody I did this."
Yeah,
And then one time with his disciples, he asked them, "Who do you think I am?" And only when they said, "You're the Christ, you're the Son of God, you're the Word," or whatever, whatever, however they said it, he admitted to them that he was, but he still said, "Don't tell anybody," because he knew if he told people that, then they would worship him instead of the Father.
yeah. Well, I can assure you that I'm not going to worship you, and I think that no one else is either. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but because we already understand what you're saying about that.
But let me tell you this though, because worship is a tricky thing. If you or anybody at any point start thinking, well, what am I gonna do now? Evidence not here to answer my question. Evidence not here to tell me. Then you already worshiping me, because I already told you the message, and the message is already inside you. I'm just here helping you. Like, you ask for it, and God leads me to you, and you're led to me, and etc. But
Yeah,
if you ever think in your mind that if I wasn't here, you would be lost, then that's the type of worship.
I know what you're saying, but I think, like, you said that it's helpful to have people coming in on the chat, and I wish more would actually and talk about this. That's what's going to be missed. Is not that somebody can't cope without you there, because you're right, the message is inside us, but it's that human part, that is that material part of us which we can't make go away while we're here, that probably misses the interactions. And because talking about it is pleasing in some way.
Oh yeah, of course. But like I said, the thing is, there's a thin line between being grateful and then becoming dependent. Like,
Hmm.
it's a very thin line. I know you don't want to admit it. I know you don't want to say it, but I'm just, from what I know, there's a thin line. So
Hmm.
it's best not to cross it, because
Hmm.
it's happened throughout time. It's happened throughout time, and history repeats. That's what I've learned from my study. Everything repeats.
You might be the
So,
exception, though.
well, I hope so. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be the I guess the reinventing of the wheel. I don't know.
Yeah, but don't go too far. Don't just
Anyways, I think everybody here got bored with talking about myself.
hang on a minute. Legends has said something. Just That's somewhat true, Erin. God sometimes put people in your way to get to know the truth, be it Avidan or be it me or someone else. So Yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
legends.
it happens very often.
I
And
probably talking about this subject with you more than I don't know, more than what? I don't know. Because you are the, like I said, you're the first person that's actually said what I thought, what I was thinking before you've spoken it. So it's quite an unusual situation for me to actually process.
oh, oh, let me. I was gonna say something. So it totally escaped me.
Don't worry, you can think about it and tell me another time. But what you've got more of course, is the knowledge. So you've added extra knowledge to my thoughts, but the essence of the thoughts you have put into words, basically. But you've got the added knowledge as well.
Well, yeah, like the first look. Gnosis starts like this. Gnosis starts by you questioning your reality. When you question that reality, and you have a belief in a God and a Father, however you want to call him, then it leads you to a sincere calling out. And when you do that calling out, God starts showing you things through people, through everything. Anything. A lot of times we miss most of the messages. But if you keep asking, it'll keep being shown to you, and then you'll see that the information is around you, but you'll notice that all the information is incomplete. But as you keep asking and as you keep searching, then you finally put it together. Now, like I said, I don't know everything. What I know is God is unconditional love. What I know is we're not supposed to be here forever. And what I know is God is merciful. The only things I'm still asking is I want to be sure about if everybody gets saved or they don't. And the answer keeps coming to me as some do, some don't. And then it led me to what I told you about some not even really being real. That's not in the Gnostic story. That came to me through other things that I was being revealed after.
Okay.
That's why I say I believe a lot in the Gnostics, but I not 100%. Like that part, that question of why some people are destined to not be saved and not turn to God. That question was answered to me. I forgot where I got that from, but I got it from somebody that I was studying that explained that some people have no souls, right? And that connected the dot back to the Bible about the wheat and the tares. Like I never understood the wheat and the tares until I understood that message. Because it
Yeah.
tells you plainly, the tare is a weed and it sucks up the wheat. But even though it does it, it never produces fruit. And the only thing that could produce fruit is something with a soul. So if it doesn't produce fruit, what is it? And that's what I kept asking until I got to what I told you about. Some beings are just reflections of you. They're not really their own self.
Yeah. Maybe the Gnostics don't have that because it was something that was not revealed at that time.
That's what I think.
Mm.
And I'm sure there's more revealing to come. I'm not saying I'm done learning anything. And even when that day comes, whenever it may be, whether I make it or I die before, even at the last day, you still won't know everything. That I can tell you because that's everywhere. Everywhere you look is gonna tell you that. You're not able to know everything as a human. It's just not possible.
No, because you would die if you did.
Yeah.
All right, then. I've kept you probably later than you intended to be. So, are you on tomorrow or when?
I'll try tomorrow again, but I'll if you don't see the notification, then I won't. So I'll always put a notification like an hour or so before.
This notification I saw 3 minutes before.
Okay, well, let me put it to you this way. You'll see a notification and it'll be at the same time as today. If it's not at the same time, that means I'm not gonna stream today, that
Okay,
day.
okay. Yeah, it's probably tiring for you, isn't it? So
Not only that, but like,
you got a life.
no, and like being unconditional, um, I can't say I'm trying to be unconditional like my father and yet neglect the rest of my family. So there's I need to have a balance.
Yeah, of course you do. Everyone does.
So I can't let the message consume me.
No. No, the better sort of health and holistically that you're in, the better work you're going to do anyway, aren't you? There's no point trying to do it nightly, if
Of
then you're going to
course.
just end up a mess.
And one last comment. So you said you wish more people came here. Well, I do too, because I want people to find God or learn at least where to start and have their own revelations and have an interest. Because most people don't have interest because they lied to us about the reality of God. So most people are turned off by God instead of actually looking. And then those that actually look see him as somebody very strict and controlling and mean, and that's very far from it. So since I see these times coming where I don't know how long it'll be, but it seems like we're going to that reset. I'm trying to help people understand who the Father is, so they don't have to be recycled.
Yeah, I hope more people find you. I mean, find the Father through you, Avidan.
I hope so, but it's these type of messages are never popular. So
That's a shame. I mean, the truth should be popular.
well, the thing is, people to most people, truth is what they could see with their five senses. And since that's what they really just see, then they it's hard for them to even care for something else. And especially when that something else means that you are not gonna be able to do the things you do here. Because most people are in love with the world and all the things they can do than actually returning to the Father. So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And some spread lies, others know the truth. Take care.
Take care. See you next time. And legends, likewise. And yes, you are absolutely correct. People who keep seeking will eventually find the truth, whatever that may be. Like I said, I have faith that this is the truth, but I'm never going to claim it as a fact. You have to experience for yourself. So thank you everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, um, write them down or whatever you need to do to memorize it, and I'll try to answer it tomorrow.
And
Tomorrow
guys,
I'm gonna break down the prodigal son, and I'm gonna break down a part of the gospel of truth. Go ahead.
I was only going to remind them that since they came in late, that it's really worth listening to the whole thing.
Yes,
That's
everybody should listen to the whole thing, and not even that. Everybody should listen um to things more than once. I actually, after I record everything, I listen to it over because um I like to sometimes when I hear everything over, I get some further detail or revelation that I feel like I could have added to it um, as you pay attention. Because sometimes as you're speaking, um, how do you say this? Like sometimes you speak in a matter which trying to find the right words, you stumble over yourself because you're like overthinking how you want to say it. And then when
yeah.
you re-listen to it, you see that you maybe didn't explain things the right way.
Yeah.
So I always listen back, and sometimes it makes things clearer. Anyways, thank you everybody. I'll see you tomorrow maybe. Look out for the notification. And also you can look at the time this video started. So whatever time it says, if I do come on tomorrow, it'll be at this time. If you don't see me come back, then it's probably gonna be the next day.
Okay. All right. And you're
All right,
definitely
take
on for
care,
Sunday
everybody.
with that earlier one, aren't you?
Either Sunday or Saturday. It's gonna be one of the 2 days.
Okay.
I will
Night,
get. I will let
legend.
you know. I will let you know Friday.
All right then. All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.